From sea to shining sea, America's favorite uncle, Bumpkin Bob.
Hey y'all, it's Bumpkin Bob coming to you from the Bumpkin Media Studios here in Siloam Springs, Arkansas. Now, here's the deal. We are filming on Sunday again, basically because we wanted to wait till the game was over yesterday because we're going to talk about the Razorbacks and everything that's went on this week. Arkansas State Indians. They're not the Indians anymore. They're actually the Red Wolves, but that's a whole story in itself. One thing I do want to say before we start talking about the Razorbacks is sources tell me that I talked to this morning that UALR is still toying with the possibility of having a football team. We visited that subject back before the season actually started and went through the economics of that. I still believe all that's true. So if you want to do a little research, you can back up to those first few episodes and hear what I had to say about that. It is a viable thing. I mean, they are still researching and looking at that. That being said, this week, the Razorbacks fired Jeff Long, their athletic director. Now, we all knew something was coming. We knew something was up. We just didn't know what. There's been a lot of talk up here. Man, and I guarantee you, it's water cooler, coffee pot discussion in every business in the state of Arkansas, I'm sure. Things that have been said, things that have been done. Now, like I said, we waited till Sunday purposely to film today, just looking to see how the game was going to turn out. Of course, we lost. I mean, we went up 14-0 and then basically got outscored 28-7 in the last 3 quarters of play. And it's just like, I don't know what else, Coach B can do. I don't think this is going to make any difference. And I don't know if anybody else saw that Missouri State scored the most first half points. Missouri scored the most first half points that they've ever scored since they've came into the SEC yesterday. I don't think this Friday's game is going to end very well. With the loss yesterday, there's no way we can be bowl eligible. You got to have 6 wins. So that's pretty much a lost cause. The only thing to be answered is nothing's happened today. And I mean the media up here. I've been all day checking Facebook and Twitter, just waiting on somebody to say something. And all the media sources that I follow up here are being quiet. I mean, the only thing I've seen today is there's one offhanded site that I don't even normally look at that's already saying Bielema's going to be fired, but they don't give any real information or a date. And then our Arkansas's John Daly did tweet out that he wants them to bring Houston Nutt back as the athletic director. Not sure if that's a good idea because, we all remember the history that Nutt and Malzahn had that year that Malzahn was at Arkansas as offensive coordinator. And a lot of the news places up here, media outlets, are still saying, people that are supposedly that know what's going on, are still saying Gus is unhappy in Auburn and has already made it clear that he wants to come up here. Now, whether that happens or not, we'll just have to wait and see. As far as AD goes, first let's cover what I think are some of the reasons Jeff Long got let go. I think the big one, which was like the nail in the coffin, was the north end zone expansion. That has not went well. It is on schedule, but it's over budget. I think some people said some stuff this week about financing that don't really understand how construction projects are financed. The general contractor there does not finance that project. They're not building it out of their pocket and then charging the U of A when it's done. It's not how it happens. Their subcontractors are turning in, usually most commercial jobs, it's done either around the 20th to the 25th of the month. And they turn in what's called a draw, which is basically an itemized list off of I don't want to give too much information because it's kind of useless. When the job starts, they do a deal that's it's basically a value chart that they assign a value to everything they're going to do for the general contractor, and then the general contractor does one also. And every month they say, well, my rough in progress is 50%, and my schedule of values is what that's called, says that, I'm charging X number of dollars for that, so I'm going to make I need to be paid that 50% of that part of the job. So these all go in every month. Then it goes through the architects and the owners and whoever's actually financing and the bond company. And then the general contractor gets paid for that and then distributes the money to the subcontractors. Now, what they do to make sure everything's done in accordance and that they can get things fixed after the job's done is they hold back a 10% retainage, which once the job's done and you've basically turned in 100% of your draws, they've held out 10% of that. So then after a certain amount of time, you invoice for your retainage, and then once they're satisfied that you're completely done, they pay you for that. So I think what they were getting at, because they were kind of insinuating that, the finance people wasn't going to pay for it unless the U of A proved that they could sell 80% of those seats. Well, the finance company's already paying for it. Now, what they may do at the end of this is call that loan in or not convert it from a construction loan to an actual, I don't think they'd call that a mortgage, but whatever they would call it. So there's probably something there. But anyway, that in conjunction with the fact they think it's overpriced and way over budget was part of the problem. Apparently they came last week or week before, made a presentation in Little Rock about War Memorial Stadium, because you've got some people, number one, the governor, number two, some of the people on the board of trustees, including David Pryor, and then people like Tommy Tuberville, who's an SEC, ex-SEC retired coach, who spoke at the Touchdown Club, that even he says you need to keep playing in Little Rock. So they made this presentation down there and said that War Memorial had to do like $10 million in renovations, actually over $10 million, to keep a game in Little Rock. So I think they felt like that was grossly overestimated. And basically, from kind of the things that have been set up here, is that he kind of took the attitude of, I'm the AD, I run this department, I do it the way I see fit, with no input from his boss or their boss is. So all of us know that triangle paradigm of of management, and everybody's got a boss, and you have to take into consideration what they think, and if not, what they think's going to turn into, we need to get rid of you, which is what ended up happening. A lot of people speculated that he basically just said, I'm not getting rid of my coach. Well, that may be true, and if it is, that probably added to it also. And it's like people said, he's done a lot for the U of A as far as the athletic programs. The first thing he did was combine the men's and women's departments and then put certain people over certain things. But he did all this good stuff, but he did these few bad things that were just not bad things, but bad decisions that were just more than the Board of Trustees could overlook. I mean, that's basically what it came down to. The next thing that starts in is people start talking about who's going to be the next AD, and Arkansas screwed up. It's like, no, they didn't. The Razorbacks are going to land on their feet. I guarantee it. Don't nobody freak out and, cancel your season tickets or commit suicide or anything like that, because the Razorbacks are going to land on their feet. They will be fine. Don't get me wrong. But number one, as far as the AD replacement goes, Tommy Tuberville, when he was at the Touchdown Club in Fayetteville a few weeks ago, basically threw his name in the hat before Jeff Long was even fired. And they came out and said that there's going to be a search committee put together. Well, I find that hard to believe. Me personally, I think they already have somebody in mind, or they know who they want. Names that have been being thrown out, like I said, Tommy Tuberville kind of threw his own name in there. Houston Nutt's name's been being thrown around. And another one I heard, did I hear this yesterday? Is a guy that's, I guess he lives in Central Arkansas now, an ex-Razorback football player, David Basil. His name's being thrown around as a potential AD. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. Another thing people are saying is, number one, that the AD has to have, they want him to have experience in the job, so probably either like an assistant AD at least, which brings up Kevin Trainer. I mean, that might be something, he's already on staff, and he is Frank Broyles' son-in-law. I don't know if people know that or not, but Kevin Trainer might be, because they want somebody who's got Arkansas ties, already has experience in the job or a similar job, and is business oriented. So, I mean, that might be somebody they're looking at. And I'm going to tell you the reasoning I have behind, I think they either already have somebody in mind or actually already have somebody. Because a name that got thrown around a couple of weeks ago was Terry Don Phillips. And now there's going to be some of you younger people that don't know who this is. But I told my coworkers, I said, man, when I heard that name, I was like, I haven't thought about him in years. But he played at the U of A. His brother played at the U of A and was on the 64 national championship, Lloyd Phillips. I mean, everybody are from in Arkansas, at least the older generation, are familiar with these people. They're big-time boosters at the U of A. Terry Don, and he didn't call him the assistant athletic director, but it was junior AD in charge of something. Basically, he was Frank Broyles' assistant athletic director for years at the U of A. and kind of the way I look at it is he got tired of waiting on Frank to resign because, I remember everybody talking about, when Frank does resign, that Terry Don's just going to step right into that position. Well, Frank just kept hanging out. Terry Don went to Oklahoma State and then on to Clemson, and he retired from Clemson in 2012. The thing I didn't know was one of the guys in the sports shows up here at noon, it wasn't Bo and it wasn't the guys in the morning, actually talked to Terry Don or Terry Don's rep. I kind of wasn't clear about who he talked to, but he talked with Terry Don's people, and apparently Terry Don had already been approached. And he's having health issues right now and is staying out of the public eye because of his health issues. They didn't go into what was wrong with him, and I think we need to respect his privacy. But what I got out of that was, if he had been approached before they got rid of Jeff Long, then I think the Board of Trustees was already looking for an AD. And I think they've already got somebody in mind and may actually already have somebody offered, or at least they've got 2 or 3 people in mind. I think if they actually do a committee, that committee's not going to be like it. Well, you 5 people go out and find us an AD. It's going to be like, you 5 people take these 3 applications or these 2 applications because these are the 2 or 3 people we want, decide which one of them out of the 3 is the best. I don't think they're going to be given a long leash to find an athletic director. That's my opinion. And y'all are noticing that today, I'm drinking a little beer today. And it's Sunday afternoon, so nobody freak out that we're drinking on Sunday morning, which I don't see the problem with that either. But let's move on to what we're actually talking about, and that's Arkansas Razorbacks. Make sure we get all this. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm coming from. The other part of this whole story is everybody's saying now, well, when will they get rid of Bielema? Because everybody's thinking that's going to happen, and who's going to be next? Well, oh my God. I really believe this. I may be wrong. And I'm going to put it out there today on the Bumpkin Bob Show, because a lot of people are saying, and I kind of believe with them, I think Gus Malzahn's going to be our next coach. I think the people that are going to make that decision have already talked to him. And the reason I think that is because when they played Arkansas, they had a bye week the week after they played Arkansas in Fayetteville. Gus did not travel back to Auburn with the team, so that pissed some people in Auburn off already. And then, okay, some of the people are reporting that Gus is unhappy in Auburn. He's been unhappy in Auburn. Him and his wife both want to move back to Arkansas, that he's expressed interest in the job, with part of the deal being that no matter what he does in Auburn, he is always on the hot seat. If he loses to Alabama, let's just say hypothetically, he loses to Alabama, he's going to finish the season at 9-3. We would kill for a 9-3 season up here. And Auburn, if he loses to Alabama, just like when they lost to LSU, they're going to be calling for his head. So they lost to Clemson, LSU, and Auburn, or Alabama, if they lose to Alabama. So that means they lost out of their 8 SEC games, they lost 2. So they finished 6-2 in the conference. Arkansas is going to finish, 1-7 in the conference. I mean, we would kill for 6-2 in the conference. And I just think that is a good possibility that Gus is going to come up here. And, depending on how everything goes Saturday in the Iron Bowl, may make that decision. If he comes up here, they could be waiting until he gets here and let him pick the next AD. That's the thing that I chuckled so hard about, because it was like, I don't know if y'all remember this, but when they played Arkansas up here, Houston Nutt set in on the CBS college football game day thing and had to talk about Gus. And then people are talking about, well, Gus is going to come back up here. Maybe we get Houston as AD. I don't think that would work, because I got this feeling that Houston Nutt probably don't think too much of Gus Malzahn. That's just the Bumpkin's opinion. I don't see that working out very well. So what have we covered? My sources say UALR is still trying to get a football team. Jeff Long basically got fired because he wouldn't play in War Memorial Stadium. Brett Bielema has said since day one that he thought the War Memorial game was a pain in the butt and he didn't want to play down there. So he may be out. I honestly think they already have a AD in mind, and I think they're going to hire Gus. I just do. The other names getting thrown around are the coach from Oklahoma State, the coach from Memphis. Trying to think who else. I brought up Lane Kiffin. Some of the guys on the job site like to shot me. I thought, he did a good job at Alabama. Was he offensive coordinator there 2 or 3 years, whatever it was? I thought he did a good job. And everybody says that that's the style of offense everybody's going to have to run. You're going to have to quit running this power eyes, and, might as well be running the wishbone if you're going to run this shit. You got to go to the spread offense. So that's another good one there. I'm going to tell a little story on my producer because it cracked me up. He sent out a little tweet, and I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he hashtagged Mike Leach, who is the coach at Washington State, about, us maybe having a job opening here and what he thought about coaching in the SEC. Well, Mike Leach actually liked the tweet, and then another one of their fans, I think it was a fan, tweeted that basically told Luke, that my son, our producer, that Mike Leach can beat Alabama from there, thank you. Kind of telling him to mind his own damn business. And I thought that was funny. Like Luke trying to get some shit started. So, anyway, that's where we stand right now. Again, we waited till today just in case something happened so we could get it on the show. It hadn't. Nobody is talking. Everybody's tight-lipped as shit. So there we go. I did check this morning just because I knew we were going to be talking about the Razorbacks. I checked over there on ASU. They are 5-1 in their conference. And I'm not sure how this works out. But they've got 4 teams in their conference that are 5-1 in conference. So I don't know how they're going to come up with who's going to actually win that conference. The good thing is ASU, unlike the Razorbacks, is bowl eligible. So guess who's going to another effing bowl this year? ASU. Can you believe that? What's going to be really sad is if something don't change up here more than what already has, because we know the athletic director is going to change. If UALR gets a football team, of course, I don't think they'll be FBS, and they damn sure won't be in a Power 5 conference, but man, it'd be something if they ended up getting up into the FBS or somewhere where they could get bowl eligible. Start having UALR and ASU playing bowl games and the Razorbacks not. I think there'd be some people pissed off to no end about that. Of course, on a bright note, let's end the Razorback discussion on a bright note, kind of. First off, I want to say, I don't know who else saw it, but Mike Anderson was visibly upset the other day about Jeff Long's firing. And we all should be about anybody getting fired, except for the fact he's still going to draw $1 million a year till 2022. So, telling you right now, my boss over at the electrical contracting place where I went, if you want to pay me $1 million a year for the next 4 years and fire me, I'm good with that. Just so you know, I'd be all right. I think I could make it. But to get back to the good note, is your Arkansas Razorback basketball team is 3-0, and they've been putting on a show, buddy. And it's like they get into actually playing some tough teams. They may get shut down. I don't know. But from all the looks and everything everybody's saying, Mike Anderson's got a pretty good team this year, even though people didn't expect it to be a pretty good team. So I think that preseason they were ranked 6th in the SEC, and Mike every year has been ranked a little low, and he's always finished better in the SEC than what he was ranked. So it'll be interesting to see, in the next. They play 36 games a year. I can't remember. Be interesting. I know they'll play at least another 30. I have no doubt they're going to win 20-plus games. I just know that, which means they'll make the NCAA tournament, which is everybody's goal. And then for 2018, they got some kids coming in next year that are just going to be, oh my God. I mean, they're probably going to make a run. This is pretty sad. I am so fired up this afternoon. I'm already getting a little hoarse right here. I probably need to give me a little drink. Hang on. Up. Everybody just stay where you're at. Don't get up. I need a little drink of beer. Anyway. Next week is Thanksgiving. So this is, everybody's usually got a short week. Everybody's going to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Probably be off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I thought I would tell, number one, a Thanksgiving story. And then I'm going to let y'all in on a little bit of Bumpkin Bob as I am and kind of what I remember. And start talking about some things like Thanksgiving-y and Christmassy type stuff. Oh, sorry, my sinuses are kind of draining. First thing I want to talk about is I'm going to tell y'all a funny little story. And I tried to find out this week by talking to my sisters what we did to take care of it, and nobody could remember. Everybody remembers this happening, but nobody remembers what we did to take care of it and fix it. We might have had bologna sandwiches. I don't remember. Nobody seems to. But for a long time, and I'm talking about during the 80s and the early 90s, mostly. Yeah, 80s to the 90s. Every year, I would smoke a turkey and a ham for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I had one of those I guess they're a Weber, but it's like a barrel smoker is what I started out using. And I would, basically my recipe was I would set my smoker up the night before, build my fire in the bottom of it, fill the water pan. I usually put a little beer in the water pan and filled the water pan up all the way. And then I would take a turkey, usually about a 15-pound bird, maybe a little bigger. And I'd use seasoning salt and rub the skin real good with seasoning salt. And then, I'd shove an onion and some garlic and a stick of butter up its butthole, so to speak. Or in the cavity, the breast cavity, I guess is the proper culinary way to say that. It's not what bumpkins say. Which reminds me, before I tell that, has everybody seen that video going around the internet where they roast that turkey with a Cornish hen in it? And then it's like daughters or daughter-in-laws or something, or get the turkey out, and the mother-in-law, whatever she is having them clean the cavity out. They've roasted this turkey, and they pull that Cornish hen out. She tells them, "Oh my God, it was pregnant." And those girls there's been several of them going around. One of them's not that funny, but one of them, man, one of the girls even starts crying. It's like, oh my God, are you that gullible of where turkeys come from? You think that damn Cornish hen was actually a baby turkey and the turkey was pregnant. Oh my God, it just blows my mind. Anyway, if y'all hadn't seen that on YouTube, you need to go check it out. And check out Bumpkin Bob's video page while you're there too. But anyway, I got my turkey. And anyway, I told you what I did with my turkey. And then I would buy a bone-in ham, a big one, full shanked ham. Set my turkey on the bottom rack, set my ham on the top. And let as the fat rendered out of that ham, it would kind of baste the turkey. Keep it moist. And my turkey and ham combination always turned out great. Okay. My smoker that I had, I always set it on cinder blocks, which is a good idea. Keep it up off the ground so it don't catch nothing on fire. What I should have done was probably even built and poured me a little pad to set my smoker on. Would have been the best thing to do. And luckily, I lived out in the boonies. I didn't live in town, so there was nobody around when I did this, and nobody saw it. And I didn't burn the woods down, thank God, because we lived kind of south of Little Rock, so everything was in damn pine trees. If I'd have caught it on fire, it'd probably still been burned today. But I worked in a transformer shop. And you people, especially if you live in like a suburban area, walk out, and if you've got a pad mount transformer, usually they've got what we call the poly pad bolted to the bottom of them. And it's about a 3.5 or 4 inch thick, hard plastic pad that keeps that transformer up off the ground. Well, these things would come into Arkansas Electric to get repaired. Well, they would take that poly pad off. Not saying it's right or wrong, but they just throw it in the dumpster. So I got this bright idea that looked pretty good to set a smoker on. Well, it's made out of plastic, and apparently I'm a dumbass. So I take this thing home and I set my smoker on it, get my smoker all set up, get her going, everything's cooking, and I would actually smoke my turkey and ham all night the night before Christmas or Thanksgiving. So I got my smoker all going, and for some reason, about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, I walked in the kitchen. And I lived in a double-wide trailer. Yes, I'm trailer trash. Always have been. If that's what you want to call me, lay it on me, because that's what I am. Anyway, I walked in the kitchen, and all y'all that's ever lived in trailers gonna know what I'm talking about. The back door had a window in it, but it was one of them crank out windows, and it had like 4 different little crank out things, louvers, and these louvers were all they're not really frosted, but they're not clear either, so you can't see through them, but you don't get a lot of light through them. But when I walked in the kitchen, I kind of glanced at the back door, and I could see a lot of light coming through that thing. And I was like, well, that's weird, because I know the back porch light ain't on. So I walked to the back door and opened the back door. Well, my smoker was sitting probably 30 feet behind the trailer on that poly pad, and the poly pad was on fire. And that whole thing was just engulfed in flames. I mean, it probably were oh my God, they were 12, 15 foot tall. You know, just that, and that poly pad was probably, I don't know, 4x4 maybe, if it was that. It probably wasn't that big. It wasn't as big as a pallet. It was probably like 4x3, but it was just engulfed. I mean, it was just burning like crazy. Well, dumbass me, like I could save anything. I ran out the back door and I just kind of drop kicked the smoker off the poly pad. Knocked the smoker, the turkey, the ham, the water pan, just everything all out in the yard. Then I went and got the water hose and put the poly pad out, put the fire out. Well, my turkey and ham had been, and the whole inside of my smoker too, it was like the whole thing was like plastic coated from that, just that plastic being on fire, and just, so I basically ruined the turkey and the ham in the same swap. And I'm talking about, this is Thanksgiving night, and this is back before Walmart stayed open 24 hours a day. So there wasn't no running down to Walmart and buying a ham or some chickens or something like that. I mean, I think what we ended up doing was the next day we bought some chickens and just roasted them. Because there's no way we could have got a turkey thawed out Thanksgiving Day. I'm now that I think about it, that's what I'm thinking we ended up doing to save Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving, the only thing about Thanksgiving anyway is the damn cornbread dressing. I don't care what anybody else says. And I will tell you all this, and so okay. That's a Joe Pesci thing. That's for all us old farts that like Lethal Weapon. That's how that Thanksgiving kind of ended. The other thing, we're going to talk about what I remember about Thanksgiving. So let's start with cornbread dressing, and something that I tell people, and I usually get this look from them like, ugh. But I'm going to explain myself to them. I grew up in the South, in a Southern house, with my mama making cornbread dressing. And basically, and all you people out there, if you're from the South and you want to correct me, that's fine. If you live north of the Mason-Dixon and you make like biscuit stuffing or something, I don't want to hear no shit out of you. So, because you don't know. You just don't know. If I remember right, cornbread stuffing is they would cook cornbread, get a big old pan, crumble it up in there, and my mom would she'd dice up onions and celery. I remember that. Some people will boil a chicken because you need chicken stock. So instead of making like chicken stock just out of the bones, they'll boil a chicken, pick the meat off the bones, put the bones and the skin back in the pot, back in your stock water, and boil the living shit out of it again. And I'm sure it's got salt and pepper and seasonings in it. But they'll crumble up that chicken in there a lot of times. They use a lot of sage and salt and pepper in it, especially the sage. But then I remember my mom always took and cracked a couple of eggs and put in there with the cornbread, stir them in real good. And y'all can tell me how many eggs, because I don't remember. I'm thinking 2, but that may be wrong. But then they'd get that chicken stock boiling hot. I mean, literally boiling hot. Literally, they'd be boiling. They would boil it. So they got it above 212 degrees. And the cornbread's already cooked. So then they would pour that stock in that cornbread and stir it up real good. Well, I'm telling you right now, if you pour boiling water or boiling chicken stock on them eggs are cooked. So I'm tired of people when I tell them this going, ugh, you eat raw eggs. It's like, no, there's no way those things are raw. But as soon as they do that, my mom would start wanting everybody to taste it. You need to taste it. Tell me if I got enough sage in it. Tell me if I got enough pepper in it. Tell me if I got enough salt in it. Well, you eat it that way, tasting it, and then they put it in the oven and they bake it off like a casserole. Well, I don't know at what age I realized that I don't like it after it's baked. I like it as soon as they pour the chicken broth in it. It's kind of like people, and I remember my dad used to do this, would take cornbread or crackers and pour buttermilk over them. Well, I like my cornbread soaked in hot chicken broth with onions and sage and celery in it. And maybe some tore up chicken pieces, because that's how it's good. But, so I tell people I like raw dressing. And what I mean is I like it before it's baked off. Not a big fan of it after it's baked off. That's just me, and it's the way I grew up. So a lot of times, my sisters usually make the cornbread dressing, and they say, because my mom always did, they save me a bowl of cornbread dressing to have with my dinner. And it usually doesn't make it that long. And it's gotten to the point, especially when my dad was alive, that I have to fight everybody in the damn family for my raw dressing, because everybody's sticking a spoon in it. And it's like, damn it, I'm going to break the next hand that sticks a spoon in my damn dressing. Rude ass damn people. So I guess you would call that being one of our traditions. I know for a fact that my oldest sister, she may not want me calling her that, has started browning a pound of sausage, like breakfast sausage, browning it and breaking it up like hamburger meat to put in her dressing. That might be kind of interesting. Try that out. Going back, something I've been trying to do this week, and because I'm building up to talk about things that I remember from the trailer park, especially. And kind of my traditions for Thanksgiving and Christmas, because they're kind of the same, so to speak. But been trying to get some of my sisters to help me remember some trailer park stories to tell. And basically, this is what I remember as being kind of our traditions. And then I'm going to talk about some stuff, and I don't want to upset anybody. It's just how it is, okay? So don't take it personal. Don't call me with any invites. That's not what I'm looking for. Just telling you the truth and kind of letting you in on a little bit of my character, soul, brain. I don't know what you call it. Pre-1991 is what we're going to start with first. Pre-1991, usually on Thanksgiving, it had gotten to the point with like in-laws and outlaws and whatever you want to call them. Mom usually did supper. And I know there were times that me and my ex would go to Camden for lunch and then drive back to Little Rock for supper. And I know my sisters and brother-in-laws kind of did the same thing. They went and hung out with their in-laws. My sisters went and hung out with their in-laws for lunch and came home for dinner or supper, however you want to look at it. And that was pretty much Christmas also. The only thing different about Christmas was, and I can remember this forever, especially when we lived in the trailer park. I don't remember it a lot after we moved out south of town, but when we lived in the trailer park on Christmas Eve, my mom would do like a big drop-by thing. She'd have a lot of like snack foods and chips and dips, and there'd be a lot of alcohol. And their friends and neighbors in the trailer park, I would guess that the majority of them would stop by for an hour or so. Most of them longer than that. But she did like a little drop by thing, and people would just come in and hang out, and they'd eat and drink and just that kind of stuff. And a lot of that ended after Mom died in 91. Post 1991, my sister started kind of hosting, and it ended up getting to the point, especially after I moved up here, that we got to the point. Need a little drink. Everybody calm down. Everybody take a drink of beer. It got to the point that we would do just one thing, usually sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And that ended up, oh man, I cannot for the life of me remember that place, but behind North Little Rock Wastewater, there is a duck club. And one of my sisters and her husband, who he actually worked for Little Rock Wastewater, his manager was the caretaker at the duck club. So they had made arrangements every year to get the duck club's facilities one weekend, one Saturday, and we would all come, and that's when we would have our Thanksgiving/Christmas type thing. That was excellent. It was great. They had shooting facilities. We could actually shoot a little bit. Really nice. They had nice facilities. The last few years, we've gotten to where we do it, like this year, Thanksgiving, we're doing on Saturday. Not sure about Christmas yet. Still really don't know. Nobody's really thought about it or brought it up. And it just, one thing I wanted to talk about, and again, I don't want nobody feeling sorry for me. I don't want nobody sending me invitations, because that's not what this is about. Pre-2010, Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, for the most part, was spent with my ex-wife and my kids. Kids were all still in school, in that elementary, junior high school, and we kind of lost our family traditions as far as the major part of the family having something on actual Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Day. As we move on post 2010, I usually spend, and it's probably wrong, and I know y'all are going to tell me it's wrong, I usually spend Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day by myself, because my kids have got other, obligations. They do in-law stuff and everything. And while I have been invited to those, and I don't want nobody to think I'm being ugly. It's not, it's just, I don't know. It's, man, it's just different. It's like, I want people to know one thing about me. I am very tender-hearted. I'm just a big old rough guy. I work construction. Use my hands all the time. But there are things that get to me, and if something gets to my heart, then the tears are going to get to my eyes. That's just how it is. I make no apologies for it. And it's like sometimes being with people on those kind of holidays other than my kids and my sisters make me remember my kids and my sisters, and it's almost harder than just being by myself. So usually on those days, I just suck it up and I'm by myself. That's just how it is. I don't I don't want to bring nobody down, and we're not depressed here or nothing. It's just how it is. Uh, Speaking of depressing things, before we move on or talk any more about that, I mean, something else, I don't know if anybody else heard. I want to go ahead and mention it. I read a report this morning that Mel Tillis died. I think he was 85. I'm not sure about that. I loved Mel Tillis. While we're on the subject of Mel Tillis, I'm going to go ahead and make some, not necessarily Mel Tillis, but country music in general. I'm going to go ahead and make some statements that are opinions of mine. And it's like, in the last, we lost Mel Tillis today. I'm not exactly sure if he died today or yesterday. We recently lost Glenn Campbell. Of course, Glenn Campbell had been suffering with Alzheimer's, and the last few years, we lost Troy Gentry not too long ago from Montgomery Gentry. We lost Don Williams. I can't think of who else. There's been a lot of people, especially since, we lost Waylon back in 07 or 06. Just a lot of people like that. And it's like, what they're playing on the radio today is not country music. Especially those guys that are rapping. That drives me fucking insane. And it's like, if that's what your audience wants to listen to, then you need to start being played on the rap stations, and those people need to go over there to listen to that junk. Because that's what it is. I mean, I said for years, when she first came out, that Taylor Swift was not country. Apparently, the only recording contract she could get was with somebody who labeled her as country and released it to the country music stations. And then, and maybe they did it on purpose to get the little teeny bopper girls to start listening. But as soon as she got of age and said, well, I'm really pop, and they started playing her on the pop stations and quit playing her on the country stations, all of them people went over there to listen to her anyway. But what she did is, during that time she was here, she won some awards and stuff that she took away from actual country music singers. I almost liken it to John Denver winning Song of the Year back in the 70s. The country artists that were there then, it pissed a lot of them off. I don't know if y'all have ever watched that on YouTube. Charlie Rich, John Denver wasn't even there to accept the award. Maybe he won Entertainer of the Year. I don't remember. But the main thing or main reason was because of Take Me Home Country Roads. The only song they played on country stations from him. It was a crossover. I think he did win Entertainer of the Year. And then he won the biggest award that they give. Well, the envelope that they brought out, Charlie Rich burned it on stage while he was announcing it. And then they got John Denver up there on satellite just all happy, and because he doesn't realize that in protest, Charlie Rich is burning the damn envelope where it had his name in it. This is the funniest shit ever. But that's kind of what I liken it to. Taylor Swift winning shit when she really wasn't country. And it's just getting, every year when they do the ACM or the CMA Awards, they bring in all these rock people, then on top of it are rappers to do duos with country people. And it's getting ridiculous. It really is. And I'm sure, let me think about this for a minute before I make this statement, before I run off at the mouth. I was going to say, probably the music I listened to when I was in my 20s, my dad probably didn't think was country music either. But by God, he did. Because when I was in my 20s, I was listening to Hank Williams Jr. and Waylon Jennings and George Strait. Who else was big in the, that Alabama? And my dad loved all them. He grew up on the Chet Atkins and Roy Clark and Buck Owens and Merle Haggard, who all of them, exception of Chet Atkins, I listened to anyway. That Bakersfield sound that Buck Owens kind of, I don't know if he invented it or not, but those two Telecasters and that big twang, and then the hillbilly rock stuff, I love that. I mean, that to me is country too. But of course, my dad also. I said that I was listening to Waylon Jennings. My dad listened to Waylon Jennings in the '60s. So I think it's just been here lately. We had that reoccurrence there in the 80s and 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and you had Clint Black and Garth Brooks and Travis Tritt, who, Travis was probably a little more rocky than the other ones, rock-oriented, hillbilly rock-oriented, but people still, that was still country. That was that bluesy influenced hillbilly type rock music, white rock, if that's what you want to call it, coming out of the Delta, out of Georgia and Mississippi. Marty Stewart. And Marty Stewart, him and that guy that's in his band, he calls cousin Kenny Vaughn. Between his B-Bender Telecaster and then Kenny Vaughn's work on a Telecaster, they combine that Bakersfield hillbilly rock sound. It is awesome. That's country music. That shit that some of these guys are doing when they're out there rapping, that ain't country music. It just ain't. And, and then these guys like Hootie and the Blowfish, Darius Ruckers, he's pop, He comes out and he recuts, oh my God, what is their name? Wagon Wheel. And I can't remember who it was that wrote and sang that first. My brain just went blank. He recuts that and has a little minor hit with it, and everybody's calling him country music. He ain't country music. He's pop. Hootie and the Blowfish. They need to play him over on 93.3 up here, not on 94.3, which is the country station. And it just irks me to freaking death. So, back again, there again, if you're going to rap, you're not country music. Country music is not rap. Let's try to think what that guy's name is. There is one that I listen to, a couple of his songs. One, because there ain't no trash in my trailer, that is rap. But I don't consider that country music. I like the song. And I like the one where he's having problems with his old lady or whatever, and he wants somebody to bring him his gun down at the Waffle Hut. Which, I guess it don't get much more redneck than that. Maybe it's redneck rap, but it ain't country music. I listen to it. Ain't country music. I don't want to see him on ACM or CMA awards. I want to see Reba McEntire and, people like that. Brooks and Dunn. George Strait, Alan Jackson. Oh, Alan Jackson was another one of them in the 80s, 90s that was coming out, having a big resurgence of traditional country music. Anyway, that's my pet peeve and my rant for the week, because week before last was the CMA Awards. Anyway, so to wrap up for today, Jeff Long got fired. Brett Bielema's probably going to get fired. I made a prediction, I'm going to stick by it, that I think Gus Malzahn's coming to Arkansas. There are some other good ones out there in case they want to look. I think they're going to bring him in, let him help pick the next AD. But again, I think they already have 2 or 3 people in mind. I don't think the search committee is just going to get an open book to go all over the United States and try to find an AD. I think the board of trustees is going to go, okay, here's the 3 names we want y'all to choose from. Call these people in, interview them, make a decision. That's just my opinion. I told y'all we talked a little bit about my feelings about Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then we went off on country music a little bit, because that's something I truly do love. Again, rest in peace to Mel Tillis. Prayers go out to Mel Tillis' family and friends. And by the way, if anybody personally knows Pam Tillis, let her know that Bumpkin Bob is single. I'm just throwing that out there, so to speak. Anyway, we won't be filming next week, but we will be back the week after. So be looking for your Bumpkin Bob on the week after Thanksgiving. And from everybody here at the Bumpkin Bob Show, we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Have a safe Thanksgiving. If you're traveling, remember Thursday is a big travel day, so be careful out there. I'm sure Sunday will be a big travel day, people trying to drive back home. So be careful, be safe, have a great holiday, and we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks.